it would supply you enough answers. Did you hear what I said? If you ask yourself enough questions, you would find more than enough answers. Now, guys, one of the things that happen with us as human beings, generally speaking, and it's not just a conversation for young people, it's everybody. One of the things that happen with, if you take the population of the earth, it's difficult to do, but hypothetically, if you take the population of the earth and you divide them into two groups, people who get things done and people who perpetually struggle. One of the things you would find is that people who get things done have a habit of asking more questions than providing answers. And people who struggle have a habit of making statements as opposed to asking questions. Does this make sense? People who get things done have a habit of asking questions. People who struggle have a habit of making statements. Say it again. Both to yourself and to other people. But it's a state of mind. Sorry, let me turn off the background music now that the session has started. We haven't really got it into business models. We're just doing some very essential life lessons. So, typical example, there are certain groups of people, like I was saying to you, this business, I don't have enough time in the day to work on my business, and I don't have enough time in the day to work on my business alongside all the other things. I'm screwed. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to let go of this. That is a conclusion. That's a statement. You draw a conclusion. The alternative is to say, how can I? What can I do to optimize my business in such a way that I don't have to devote a lot of time? And there are many different ways to do it, because how many of you have heard of something called passive income? It's a simple concept that literally refers to you doing work once and earning from it perpetually. And a very typical example is if I teach a class on a particular subject matter that I'm really good at, and I say to myself, you know what, Davis, you don't have the time in the world to keep doing this every time. I literally can take my knowledge, convert it into an online course, put it somewhere online, and then just set up some automated promotions to keep driving traffic to that site, and then I generate money from that. Can you see the difference? If you ask your brain enough questions, you would always have answers. So I guess the first thing I'm going to say to you, just to make sure that is recorded, the first thing I'm going to say to you is make a habit of asking yourself questions rather than making a habit of making conclusions about yourself. Some of you have limiting self-beliefs. Some of you have negative self-talk. So you say things like, I am not good enough. I don't know how to do X. As opposed to making those conclusive statements, transform them to, how can I be better? I am not good enough and how can I be better essentially refer to the same thing, but they get different results. Guys, are we still together? Does this make sense? They are the same, they refer to the same thing. It's that there is a limitation in your skill. That's what it means. But the outcomes that those two phrases lead to is completely different. One leads to a point where you say, oh man, what am I going to do with myself? And you literally get depressed when you make those statements. You feel bad about yourself. The other one sends your brain on a spiral, on a quest to find the solution to that problem. This is a session that is built for intending entrepreneurs. If you are going to succeed as an entrepreneur, this is one of the first fundamental mindset shifts that you have to make. Asking questions as opposed to making statements. Does that make sense? Yeah. Awesome. Shall we get started on business models? Sure. Okay, interesting, exciting. So, Is anyone excited? I get super excited when I'm delivering sessions. You're feeling the energy. Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Don't worry, it's coming. It's coming. Get ready. Awesome. So, guys, you're welcome. My name is Davis. My work essentially is an investment readiness. So I help businesses get ready to raise investment, and it's everything that there are many things that statement covers. But I'm not going to bore you with the details. If you want to learn more about that, you can just go to my LinkedIn. I'll show you. I put a QR code up at the end, which will take you to my LinkedIn. You can follow me on LinkedIn. Ring the bell icon. I create tons of content. Snippets of the sessions that I delivered today might go on LinkedIn. So you could always follow me on LinkedIn to get more stuff. My job today is to help you understand what we call business models. What did we do in week 1? Who wants to remind us? Anyone? Just shout it out. Understanding value propositions. So week 1, you understood value propositions. Week 2, what did we do? Understanding customers. Oh, great, fantastic. So today is understanding business models. Let's connect those 3 dots. So, understanding value proposition. Value proposition literally refers to a proposition of something valuable that you can offer to the market and get money for. Correct? Week 2 was understanding customers, which is having a clear understanding of the people that need this value proposition. Now, a business is born when you can consistently connect value propositions to customers. Make sense? That's why we're talking about business models. And the goal of today's conversation is to give you a very clear understanding of the foundational steps to building a successful business. How do we get into that conversation? I think the right place to start is to ask a very basic question. What is a business? Does anybody want to tell me what they think a business is? I mean, everyone in this room has an idea of what they think of business is. So we shouldn't be wanting for answers. So yeah, tell me. Something that gets you paid. That's good. Anyone else?
There's to and fro transaction, like you provide something and you get something.
Absolutely. That captures it better. Selling a service or a product in order to make profit makes sense. Anyone else? Yes. Solving a problem for the market. Spot on. Anyone else? Okay. I mean, we've gotten very, very good answers. But in order for you to have a very well-rounded understanding, and in order for you to understand what we're about to what we're talking about today, which is business models, I am going to give you a simple definition that literally is the same thing that you've said, but that just organizes it a bit more. And the reason why I'm doing this is because a lot of people today seem to have forgotten at the very base level what a business is. You know, I get people that come up with all sorts of stuff, and you ask them, why are you doing this, or why are you interested in this business? And they say things like, oh, we believe that people need this, or we believe that we can make a change, we believe that we can make a difference. All of those things are nice. Trust me, I'm all for making an impact. All of those things are nice. But without a core premise, which I'm going to show you now, all of those things do not amount to a business. So what is that core premise? You see, everything called a business comes down to this point on your screen. It is a vehicle of value creation. A business essentially is a machine that is built to create value. So what does creating value mean? The first step in value creation is taking what we call inputs. And inputs can be a number of things. You take in inputs, You then take that input and you convert it through a process, and you come out with something that is an output that is better than the sum of the input. So, for example, you take examples of input: time, money, materials, other types of resources, other people's time. You take all of those things, you bring it into your entity, and you do what? You create a product from it, or you create a service from it. Essentially, what you're doing is, on the first side, creating value, on the second side, delivering value, and then on the third side, capturing value in return. So creating value means you are creating a product. That's the first part of your process. Please, are we still together? I hope I haven't lost you. Okay. The first step is creating a product. That's the first step of your process. The second step of your process is delivering that product you've created into the hands of the customer. You remember week 1 and week 2. Those are the first two things that you were taught. Creating value is creating the value proposition. Understanding the customer, the reason why you're understanding the customer is so that you can connect what you've created and put it into the hands of the customers. All of that is still part of your process. Now, the output that you're looking for is to be able to get money in return, and that's what we mean by capture value. So a business essentially is a vehicle for creating value, delivering value, and capturing value. So you create something that is valuable to a customer. You find a way to take that thing and give it to the customer so that the customer can enjoy that value. And then the customer gives you value in return in terms of what? Money. Does this make sense? This is a simple definition of a business. Everything else, somebody say everything. Please say it as if you mean it. Everything. Everything else is a feel-good story. Oh, we want to make an impact. We want to make lives better. We want to change the world. We want to create more opportunities for people. It's a feel-good story for you, for your investors, and to the people that you're telling that story to. It just makes people feel good. Ultimately, you can stone me if you want. It is the truth, and it's not going to change. All of the impact, and it's just the entire purpose of it is to feel good. If you call it a business, it has to create value, it has to deliver value, it has to capture value. It has to take inputs, it has to convert that input into something of value, deliver that input, and then capture value in return. Does this make sense? Yes, sir.
How would you address the timing in the market gap? When a business is born,
Yep.
let's assume it has input, it has good process, and it makes a better output.
Yep.
Theoretically, that's good.
Yep.
But in real life, timing of the business and does the product serve a gap in the market?
Yep.
That matters a lot too. So how does a business model make up for that?
Well, we're going to get into all of that. So your question is, once you've done the creation of value, delivering value, your question is more around how do you make a business succeed? So if you've had the business, how do you make sure that it does well in market? So there are a lot of factors around that, which is like timing, and the readiness of the market, the education level of the market to be sure that they get the product. All of those things they are very important to making a business succeed. Yep. What I'm explaining here hasn't even gotten to that level yet. Here, I'm literally just saying, what is a bit? Remember, this is a question we're trying to answer. Guys, what's the question? What's a business? That's the question. It's literally the process of if you're able to successfully create a machine that takes in input, so it takes in your time and my time and some money, and we're able to use your time. What's your name? Ishika. So it takes Ishika's time and David's time, and it combines it with some money, and we're able to say, okay, so what do you study?
Business and management.
Business and management. So Ishika studied business and management. I studied entrepreneurship. We decided to become partners So what have we combined first? Speak to me. If we decide to become partners, what have we combined as an input? We've combined both our time and our skills. That's the first input. And then we decided to say, you know what? We're going to start a business consulting firm where we would help businesses design their strategy. We feel that this is going to be of value to businesses that are looking to go international. So we will specialize in international expansion strategy. Great business idea? Fabulous. So Ishika and I have decided to become founders. And the first thing we have decided to contribute to this business is what? Speak to me, guys.
Our time.
Our time. We then said, okay, great. This is a great idea. But in order for people to find us, we need to have a website. We need to do some marketing. We know that we can do the work if we get the clients, but we need to put ourselves out there. So we're going to need somewhat money to build the website, do some marketing. So we then decided to say, okay, you know what? As co-founders, I put in £10,000. You put in £10,000, and we're going to have a capital of £20,000. What is the other inputs that we've put into this machine now? Money. Time, skill, money. Now, we've taken these three things, we build the website. Now, we take these three things and we begin the process. The first part of the process is we build the website. Second part is we set up some marketing strategies and we started doing some social media ads and LinkedIn and all those kind of things. And then the third part of the process is that somebody found our ad and reached out to us. So we did customer engagement. That's part of the process. And then we engage with that customer and the customer says, yes, I'm going to buy. We drew up the contract, sent the invoice. That's part of the process. And then that deal got agreed. The deal got agreed, and then Ishika and I started doing the work. So we put our time together, we did all the work, we did the research, we prepared the report, we presented the business and said, this is your strategy. The client said, fantastic, we love it. And then we said, you know what, since you love it, we're a new business, go on our website, leave a review, go on social media, leave a review. All of this is a part of that process. And what the client is charging us, what we're charging the client in order to do all of this, at the end of the day, when you add it all up across all clients, what you're getting as an output must be more than the costs of your inputs, so the cost of the time and the money you put in at the end, which is why I think it was your definition that said it's setting up to make profit. You see that word? I think it was yours? Yeah, it was yours. Setting up to make profit. You see that word profit essentially is the word that defines your output must be greater than your input. That's what makes you a business. We understand what a business is now, yeah, correct? Okay, beautiful. Now let's move ahead. You see, that's why I put in here your input, whatever amount you come to with your input, whatever amount you come to with your process, your output must be greater. That's why there's £1 sign in input and £1 sign in process. Output must always be more. And that's what makes you a business. If you have an entity that takes in input, that does process, but what you're getting in terms of output is not greater than the cost of your input, you're as good as a charity, really. Because you're literally just burning money and you're not creating enough value. And that is not sustainable. Very quickly, you're going to burn through the cash reserves that you have and you're going to die as a business. Does this make sense? So we understand the first half of today's conversation. Remember, today's conversation is about business models. So we know what a business is. The base principle of a business then is that the output should be more than the cost of the input and the cost of processing. That's the base principle. If you meet this criteria, then you are a business. Now that we understand business, what does the word model mean? It's quite simple. We're not going to spend time here because model simply refers to different forms of doing a thing. Yes, sir, you have a question?
So, he explained to us that we have to make profit.
Yep.
So, in one of our classes, not this class,
Yep.
we were told that cash flow
Yep.
is king
Yep.
in business.
Yep.
Cash flow is not the actual profit. Means money is coming in and money is going out.
Yep.
Right? At what point do we need to start making profit? From the onset? 2 years, 3 years?
Great question. I love that question. And thank you for asking it. At what point do you need to begin to make profit? Because we're taught that cash flow is king. Here's your answer. You need to aim to make profit as soon as possible. That should be your aim. It doesn't mean you would succeed in making profit from day one, but your target from day one should be, how do we make sure that we become profitable as quickly as possible? And I'll tell you the reason why, using the reference that you brought up, which is cash flow. The premise of the statement, cash flow is king, is that even when your business is not profitable, so long as you are bringing in more cash than you need to spend, you will remain alive as a business. You will remain what we call a going concern. Going concern is a term that is used to refer to the fact that a business continues to exist into the future. So the premise of cash flow is king is, so long as you are able to pay your bills, so long as your income or the money that you have available as a business is more than the money that you have to spend, you would keep surviving. My perfect analogy for the difference between cash flow and profit is that profit is like a terminal disease. So I hope you get this analogy. So imagine you are a business and you are not profitable. If you don't have profit, the problem that you have is like a terminal disease. You know what a terminal disease is? You know, you've got a good example of a terminal disease is HIV/AIDS or cancer. If you have it, you can still be alive. You can sustain yourself with the right medication, with the right treatment. You can continue to exist. It doesn't mean that the fact that you have that disease means you're going to die. That's what not making profit is like. It's like the business is not healthy, but it can sustain itself. Why? Because he has the medication called cash flow to keep it alive. If a business, on the other hand, is not cash flow positive, so you have a negative cash flow, meaning your bills are more than the cash that you have available, that's not a terminal disease, that's heart attack. You know what heart attack means? Sudden death. The moment it strikes, the heart stops working, the blood stops pumping, the body shuts down, and the life is gone. Essentially, my point is, if you've got cash flow problems, cash is the lifeblood of a business. Cash has stopped pumping, no more blood is going into that entity, the entity will shut down. Essentially, if you've got cash flow problems and you have to pay a bill of, say, £100,000, but you don't have £100,000, and the person that you have to pay that money to takes you to court, and the court says, pay this money, you say, I don't have the money. The court says, go sell all the assets that you have and pay the person. And you said, if I sell all the assets that I have, it is not even up to the 100,000 I need to pay to this person, then the court will declare you bankrupt. Meaning that business ceases to exist. You see the difference between cash flow and profit? You need to aim for profit because profit means you are healthy. That's what it means. But even if you are sick, but you still have the medication of cash, you can still keep surviving. That's why profit is so. But profit is important so that you as a business can be a healthy business. Cash flow is important so that you can remain alive, really, because cash is the blood of business. Does that make sense? All right, awesome. Now, we've talked about business, then the question is, oh, beautiful. What is a model? A model simply refers to different ways of a thing. A perfect example is vehicles, right? There are brands and there are models. Every different brand of every different model of Lexus is a Lexus. So a Lexus is a brand of car. There is a Lexus NX, Lexus RX, Lexus LX. How do I know? Because my next car is going to be a Lexus. I've been doing research. If you take another brand, Mercedes, They've got all sort of different models. You get the idea? So model simply is a word that refers to different forms of the same thing. So what then does the term business model mean? Simple. A business model simply refers to the different ways through which a business creates value, delivers value, and captures value. That's all it means. So you remember that definition we gave to business earlier about it being a vehicle of creating, delivering, and capturing value? There are many different ways to create, deliver, and capture. Does this make sense? Come on, guys, speak to me. Does this make sense? This literally, see, anybody can come and tell you a bunch of nice sounding English words about what a business model is. Literally, at the core base of it, this is what it means. It's different ways of creating, delivering, and capturing value. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Shall we look at some examples of all these different ways? What I've done is I've taken my time to go in depth and highlighted 15 unique business models. There are a few more. It's not an exhaustive list, but at the time when I was preparing this presentation, these were the ones I could remember. Well, because even after this 15, you will struggle to find additional ones. It doesn't mean they don't exist, but you have to think a bit more. And I ran out of time to think. I ended to put this prezi together. So let's look at a number of business model examples. Before we do that, does everybody, okay, so please, everyone raise your hand. Everyone raise your hand. Every single person in the room raise your hand. Keep your hand up. If you already have an idea of the business that you want to set up, put your hands down. You already have an idea of the business you want to set up, put your hands down. So I see no hands up means everyone has an idea of the business they want to set up. Okay, so before we get into business models, because we're going to get really practical really soon, I want you in 20 seconds, and I'm going to time you mentally. In 20 seconds, tell me the idea you want to execute. Just the idea. Don't tell me how you're going to make it happen. Just tell me what is the idea that you're thinking in your head. So we'll start with you.
It's a social app. So it combines like Bumble and Eventbrite together.
Interesting.
Arts and Crafts Center for children in Vietnam.
Arts and Crafts Center for Children. Fantastic.
Workout clothes for women.
Workout clothes for women. Beautiful.
Medical dispensing device and monitoring device for elderly.
Fantastic.
I increase all patients and the amount of patients that can be seen by any healthcare using AI within radiology and all these other scans.
Fantastic. These are smart businesses here.
It's basically eBay for students, but without the hassle of trying to find a buyer.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So
Fantastic.
selling
Interesting.
and buying things.
That's really cool.
Research liaison.
Okay, Recycle. Fantastic.
App for things where people can buy things for cheap.
Interesting.
Automated 3D modeling manufacturing.
Fantastic. Automated 3D. Oh, you guys are smart people. Yeah.
Social media marketplace for wish list.
Fantastic. Yes, sir. Say that again.
Food subscription for people with no time to cook.
Oh, food subscription. Fantastic.
It's like a cafe or a co-working space.
Beautiful.
They end up helping animals.
Oh, good.
Taking different fabrics from like different cultures and then turning them into abayas, which is the black thing right now.
Fantastic.
So creating a sustainable product out of like organic or food waste.
Fantastic.
Reselling a sustainable cup on Amazon.
Reselling what?
Sustainable cups.
Oh, good. Interesting.
Platform to provide services to customers from.
Fantastic. That's cool. Great. Clothing.
I help startups raise money by connecting the dots.
Raise money by connecting the dots. Great. Yes, sir.
So it's a B2B marketplace for healthcare products and food.
Fantastic.
It's an audio guest book for wedding events.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's really good. Thank you for the good work you do. Say again? Bakery. Fantastic. Love you all. Great business ideas. And I think, I mean, I've heard some very, very interesting things. It's going to work. Well, I didn't say your business is going to work. I mean, you've got work to do. They all sound like fantastic ideas, but you got work to do. And I wish you well in your journey. So the reason why I wanted to do that is I wanted to be sure that everyone at least had a concept in their heads that they could play with. So that's great. Now, as we go through these business models, I'm going to explain each of them in detail. And I am sure that by the end of this exercise, when you understand multiple business models, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to write down. I know this will come super easy to a lot of you, what your business model is that you're thinking of right now. Now, by sharing with you all the different business models, you would not only know what your business model is, but other options of business models that you could explore. Does this make sense? Sounds like a good idea? Beautiful. So let's go. The first business model is something called wholesale. We've all heard about this before, haven't we? What does wholesale mean? Wholesale simply means you buy something in bulk and you sell in bulk. So if you think about the job of a wholesaler, the business of a wholesaler is that they buy a particular product in bulk from the person that manufactures it for a certain price, and that they sell in bulk as well, but in smaller bulk. There is a term in wholesale called bulk breaking. That is what wholesalers do. They buy bulk from the manufacturer, and then they break that bulk into smaller bulks. Does this make sense? And then so they buy from manufacturers, they sell to retailers. That's the simple model of wholesale. Their entire way of making money is buy a lot at a lesser cost, sell at a marked up price, and make profit from there. That's how they make money. Now that's the wholesale business. Here is a wholesale business broken into the three elements of business. What are those three elements? The three components of a business? Create value, deliver value, capture value. So how does a wholesale business create value? They buy in bulk. How do they deliver that value to the customer? Think about it. Well, you don't have to think about it. It's there on the screen. How do they deliver the value? They either have a pickup location for the retailers to come and buy from, or they have a delivery service that takes the product to the retailers. Does this make sense? And how do they capture value in return? They get paid for every order. Every time a retailer buys or places an order, the retailer pays. Is it simple enough? Do you understand the wholesale business model? Is there any wholesaler in the room? I knew there wasn't any. The next model is retail. And what is the simple premise of retail? You buy in bulk. Let's say it together. You buy in bulk, and then you... That's retail. You buy in bulk, you sell in units. You buy from the wholesaler, you sell to the unitary consumers. It's quite simple. Again, what is the create, deliver, and capture value structure for retail? Number one, you buy in bulk. How do you deliver value? You either have a pickup location as a retailer where people come to buy from you, or you have a delivery structure that makes it possible for you to deliver your products to the customers where they are. And how do you capture value in return? Again, it's payment per order. Simple enough. How many of you have a retail model? Okay, great. I'm glad that people are beginning to identify where they fall. The next model is what we call a subscription model. And what essentially is a subscription model? How does it work? It's quite simple. It's literally providing a recurring solution to a recurring problem. Because the premise of subscription is that the customer... Guys, please pay attention to this, because subscription is a very popular model today. Everybody talks about it. There are many different variations of it. You hear things like SaaS, all of this. It's all subscription. That's the base fundamental model. But a lot of people just model it up into all sorts of things. What is a subscription? It operates on the premise that the customer has an ongoing, recurring need. Do not be one of those entrepreneurs that creates something and decides that you're going to sell it in a SaaS model simply because SaaS is popular. Don't be that entrepreneur that creates something and decide you're going to sell it on a subscription model because every Tom, Dick, and Harry seem to be selling via subscriptions. Understand the model that works for your business so that you can succeed. All these other models are built successful businesses. It doesn't have to be subscription. Let's go back to the premise. The premise of subscription is that you are providing a recurring solution to a recurring need. A very good example of subscription is Netflix. Yep, I'm trying to find examples that everyone can relate to. What is the recurring need? Somebody tell me. Entertainment. We want to be entertained over time. It could be through watching a series or just having options of entertainment. But what he said is the fundamental. Every person has an entertainment need in their life, and that need is not going to be going away next month. Every month, there is a time in my month that I need to be entertained. So that's a recurring need. And what is their recurring solution? It's a platform that's got that entertainment on demand. So in order for me to continuously have access to it, I've got to continuously pay. And that's what subscription does. What is the create, deliver, and capture model for subscriptions? The way subscriptions create value is that they buy or build a solution. There are subscription businesses where the thing that people are subscribing to is something that you bought. It could be, so for example, I could buy a business, or somebody's developed a fantastic platform that helps students prepare for exams or something of that nature, or that aids your studying. I saw that, I thought, this is fantastic. I go to the person, I say, can I buy your technology? I buy the technology, and then I started selling it to students on a recurring basis. So it could be something that I bought or something that I built. Eventually, somebody has got to build it. So the way you create value is you build a piece of technology that gives that value to people. How do you deliver it? You put that value that you've created on a platform. A platform literally refers to an avenue through which people can access something. Please, are we still together?
Yeah.
Have I lost you?
No.
Great. A platform refers to an avenue through which people can access something. So you take what you've built, you put it on a platform, and you give people access to that platform. That's one way to deliver the value of subscription, just like what Netflix does. They've taken all of this content and movie that they've created, they've put it on certain servers, and then they've created an interface for you to watch it. And what you pay for is the access to that interface. That's how they deliver the entertainment value to you. So platform access is one way. And another way with subscription is actually a delivery service. You got a question? Say that again. Will buying a course come under subscription? Not necessarily, except if you have to pay on a monthly basis to continue to access that course. So for example, if I wanted to learn graphics design, yep, and I went online and I found a course, say A to Z of graphics design, £100. I pay for that product and then I'm off. I don't have to keep paying them every month. But if the skill I wanted to learn, for example, is let me think of something ongoing. If what I wanted was some coaching and some mentoring from some business guru, and the business guru says, oh, I've got a membership club that you pay £100 a month to be a part of, and you're going to continue to learn from me every month. We're going to have 2 masterclass sessions every month. Then that's an ongoing process. So a course can be a subscription and it may not be a subscription. It all depends on the way you choose to structure it. Remember, the whole idea of sharing all of this with you is so that you can understand different ways to structure your value creation, value delivery, and value capturing. Your idea is your idea. It doesn't matter if it's a cup of coffee or if it's an online course. Product is product. That's what it is. Service is service. Your product or your service is the embodiment of value. Do you understand? Your business model is literally how you structure that value, how you create it, how you deliver it to people, and how you make money from it. So your product can be anything. So the point I'm making to you, just to answer your question, is anything can take on any model, but you have to be careful in that process because certain things lend themselves to certain types of models. So for example, the premise of subscription says you're providing an ongoing solution to an ongoing need. If the solution that you have provided as a business is not an ongoing need, why would you want to put it as a subscription? You see my point? So that's, I hope that helps you. Beautiful. So I was saying the delivery model for subscription is either you give people platform access or you have a delivery service. So I think it was you who had a food delivery something business, yeah? Your name is? Hamid. Mohammed. Okay, so in Mohammed's case, if he chooses to use subscription, it's not going to be platform access, it's going to be delivery service. Because essentially, the ongoing need in your case would be people need to eat, but they don't like to cook. So they need to have access to the food. So what you're going to do is they buy a plan to say, deliver me 3 meals a day, something of that nature. And your job will be to have a delivery service that takes that food to them. Does that make sense? That is a very good example of a case where subscription would utilize delivery service as opposed to platform access. Does this make sense, guys? And then how do you capture value in subscription? It's contracted monthly fees. So there is a contract between you, the business, and the customer that says, this is how much you're going to pay us every month for this duration. It's the price and the length of the contract. That's the delivery, that's the capturing value model. So for example, when Netflix says to you, you pay, how much is Netflix subscription? Come on, guys, you all have Netflix. Starts from £5. So when Netflix says £5 a month, cancel anytime, what have they said to you? You pay us £5 every month to have access to this, but we're not putting a contractual duration to it. You can cancel your subscription anytime you want. But if you have a BT subscription, everybody knows BT? Maybe BT does your internet or your phone contract or something. In many instances, they would say you pay us £30 a month for a 12-month contract. Does this make sense? And that is, say it again? And cancellation fees. Now, why does cancellation fee come in? Because you are breaching the contract. Because you are breaking the duration. And that's why I actually deliberately put in the word contracted. Because it has to be something that has been agreed between you and the customer for the price and for the duration. You could choose to say to the customer, don't worry, there's no contracted duration, but this is how much you're paying us. And you can choose to say to them, if you're going to be subscribing to our plan, you have to be there for 6 months. If you break within that 6 months, you're going to pay a cancellation fee. And contract will bind them to make sure that they pay you that money. Yes, sir.
One thing you said subscription means something for recurring need.
Yep.
Well, if let's say Netflix, recurring need, but if it was a one-time package,
yep,
people would still buy it because it's a recurring need.
Yep. If you choose to structure your business model as a one-time package, yeah, people will still buy it.
The benefits and the disadvantages of placing a subscription of one-time payment?
So the advantage of putting it as a subscription is that you will continue to get cash flow over time. If you sold it as a one-time sales, you get a bulk of cash coming one time. The customer continues to have access to the product anyways, but you cannot make any more money from them. So if you think about it, Netflix could charge you £200 to have lifetime access to the platform. Watch any movie you want. £200 sounds like a lot of money. But as opposed to charging you £200, they say to you, we're going to make this super easy for you. Just pay £5. You don't even have to think about it, right? And guess what? Because £5 is not a big deal for you, you sign up. How many months is it going to take you to get to 200 if you're paying £5 a month? 40 months. Beyond 40 months, at the point when you get to 40 months, it's already become habit. It's already become an indispensable part of you. And then you're just going to leave it there. Even the month when you don't watch Netflix, you're going to leave your subscription on and you're going to keep paying them. So essentially for the business, it literally makes it almost guaranteed that they're going to get more money over time and spread across months. So there is no variance between, oh, we have a lot of money in January when new clients sign up, and then we don't have money in February coming in. It literally makes it steady and predictable, the income you're going to generate. Awesome.
It also comes down to when it's divided into payments, it caters a large number of audience.
Absolutely.
Everyone can do that.
Absolutely.
But if it's like in bulk,
if you bulk, it cuts out a bulk of the customers. So there are certain students that, if there's a product that is £200, as a student, you literally say, wait a minute, that ain't for me. But if it's £5, a student can buy it, a professional can buy it, an investor can buy it, a lecturer can buy it, everybody can buy it if it's £5. You get the idea? So that's subscription. Make sense? Shall we move on? Next bit, before that, anyone here have seen their business's subscription? Okay, few people. Great. Did I ask with the previous one? Anyone retail? Okay, good. So we have retail, we have subscription. The next one is a rental model. And what is the rental model of business? Essentially is you provide what we call a termed use of an asset to a customer who needs it. That's what the rental model of business is. You provide the termed use. So termed use mean you give them access to use your asset for a particular specified term. That's literally what a rental model is. So, and everybody here, I presume, has a perfect example of this. What example am I talking about? Tell me. Tell me. Your student accommodation or whatever it is that you're staying. Your landlord has used their money to buy an asset or use their money to build an asset. Your home is an asset. And then they don't have to live in it, but it belongs to them. So what do? They give you access to that asset for your use for 12 months. 12 months is a term. And that's how rental model works. So you would have, go ahead.
Isn't like rental model also a subscription model?
No, it's not. Thank you for your question. I love it. Guys, please pay attention. I beg you, pay attention. Our question is, isn't rental model the same thing as subscription? Let me tell you where the difference is. The reason why you think it is the same is because of the recurring payment from the customers to you. But remember, the business model is not only about capturing value. It's also about how you create the value and how you deliver the value. So it's the three things together, not just how you capture value, not just how you make money. So when it comes to the capture value side of things, rental and subscriptions are similar. But where the differences are is how the value is created. With subscriptions, you're building something. It could be anything. Or you're providing a service. In this case, it's a service. It's food aggregation. Yep. It's not even building a platform. It's food. So it could be a service. It could be a product. It could be, a platform that is built. In subscription. In rent, it is the delivery of an asset. So beyond house, and another very good rental model is if I've got a car, which is also an asset. I have 2 cars. I don't need one. I can literally give one to you and say to you, pay me this much money every month. If I have, perfect. An event space. So I've got a building in center of town. It's very nice, like where we are right now, belongs to me. And I said, you know what? I don't need to use it all the time. Yeah, while I'm not using it, can I give other people access to use it and then they pay me for it? You get the idea? So asset essentially is you get the asset one time, whether you buy it or you build it, so long as it belongs to you, and you just give other people access to it.
So correct me if I'm wrong. In subscription, you don't become the owner. In rental model, you don't become the owner of something you're paying for.
Yep.
But in subscription, you might or might not.
Yeah, in subscription, you might or might not. In a food business subscription, for example, once the customer pays for the food, it becomes their food. Yeah, exactly. So that's a very good way to differentiate it. What will help even further? So look at the create, deliver, and capture model for rent. How do you create value in rent? You buy an asset or you build an asset. How do you deliver that value? You give the right to that asset to a person. So you give them either access or the rights. So you're literally saying, this is my asset, but here are the keys. Hence the picture. Does this make sense? Guys, please, are we still together? Is this making sense? Anybody with a rental model? Okay, nobody. Next one, advertising. Yep. What is an advertising model? Advertising model simply refers to creating a platform that gets attention. Now, creating a platform, remember that platform could be anything. But so long as it gets attention, it's a platform. And then you are selling access to that attention to other people that need the attention. Does this make sense? So essentially, if I have created beautiful. You know the guys who Sky, BT, the rest of them will create football broadcasting? That's a product that is built to get attention. For 90 minutes, people are sat down, myself inclusive, glued to this thing as if our lives depend on it. And guess what? Because they have that attention, what do they do at halftime? Sell advertising. Other people that needs the attention of the people that watch football are always putting their product in that platform. How many of us watch the Champions League? Who's the prime sponsor of the Champions League? Heineken. Why do you think Heineken sponsors the Champions League? Boom. That's their market. So literally the advertising model is you build a platform that gets audience. Yep. Look at it. Create, deliver, capture. How do you create value in advertising? You build or you buy an attention grabbing platform, whatever that platform is. And then you give access to people who want to advertise to your audience. You give access to them to come on the platform, to put their advertisements there. And then the capturing value part could be many different things. One way is contracted ad fees. So for example, somebody would say, in order for you to advertise on our platform, you pay us, 200,000 pounds. That's contracted ad fees. Another way is what we call pay-per-view. How many of you watch mixed martial arts? MMA. You watch, that's exciting. Really? You watch MMA too? Good. You watch the UFC?
No, the wrestle.
Oh, the wrestling one. Anyone watch the UFC? Yeah? Did you watch the Volk fight?
No, I used to follow the
Follow on, oh, great. But the UFC and mixed martial arts uses a pay-per-view model, meaning that, pay-per-view simply refers to you get the attention, but you pay for the time that you're there when people are seeing you. Yes, sir. Say it again. YouTube uses an advertising model, absolutely. They have built a machinery that gets people's attention because you all go to YouTube to watch videos. And then what do? They sell to advertisers access to that attention. So before you watch a video, YouTube says, here is an ad. Guess what? YouTube has charged those people for the ads. Now, another way of making money on ads is what we call pay-per-click. So somebody puts an ad on your website, for example, everybody that comes to your website and clicks on that ad, then that translates into revenue for you. So there are different ways of capturing value when it comes to ads. The next one, yes.
So the sponsorship, for example,
Yep.
if someone watches cricket, they wear a jersey where there's always a logo of some brand.
Mm-hmm.
So is sponsorship also advertising model?
Exactly. It's advertising model because just like you said, A lot of people watch cricket across the world. Yeah. Now the guys who are playing are wearing jerseys. They're wearing uniforms. If somebody puts their logo on that uniform, everybody that watches cricket sees that name. That is advertising as well. So that is exactly the same model. So what you see outside on the wall, well, if you go back to advertising, you can see the picture there. Yeah, you can see it's literally side of the street, lots of banners. That's advertising as well. Because essentially, the reason why it is there is not because you are using an asset. The reason why it is there is because there's attention flowing across that asset. So the defining factor is not the fact that here it is. It's not every building that has a billboard. Do you get the idea? Because if it's a building, it's an asset. So asset is not the defining factor. The reason why you see a billboard on a building or a poster on a building is because it is believed that based on the location of that building, a lot of people pass through. So there is a lot of attention, eyeballs that go through that channel. And that's the reason why somebody's going to place an ad there. Does that make sense? Yes.
So if we go back to the example of YouTube, that's a business that has different business models. Right?
Yes.
So consecutively making income from different things.
Yeah.
As a startup business,
Yep.
open to start,
Yep.
should you prioritize one business model
Yep.
or can you rely for multiple?
Thank you for that question. I really, really like the fact that you asked that question. And it's a great question. There are many businesses that incorporate multiple business models. And I was going to say to you that actually, as your business evolves and grows, you can combine multiple business models. Question is, as a startup, should you focus on one or should you incorporate multiple? I would always advocate for focusing on one as a startup. Why? Because as a startup, you have limited resources, you're competing against the world. You don't have enough bandwidth to execute many things simultaneously. So find the model that is best in terms of generating new revenue and start with that. Then as you begin to grow and new opportunities open up, expand your business model, add new business models to it, and then make more money that way.
A follow-up question to that. For example, in my business, if a student is selling in bulk
Mm-hmm.
and the other student is buying in bulk, there is just one wholesale model.
Yep.
But that's limiting my business because I can also incorporate a retail model where
Mm-hmm.
I'm buying in bulk but selling
Yep.
in parts.
Yep.
So, should I still focus on one model or that I
My-
know that it's gonna make profit?
My
so
my answer to your question is, if you can, still focus on one model because of the same reason that I gave, capacity constraints. Did everybody hear our question? So our question is quite simple. I'm doing a wholesale model, I'm making money, but I think that there is more opportunity in retail, and should I still stick to one? The answer to that question is literally do an audit of your wholesale model and see how profitable it is. Then do an audit of a retail model, provided that you can execute a retail model, and see how profitable it is. And then ask yourself this critical question: do I have the resources to simultaneously execute the wholesale model and the retail model at the same time? If the answer is yes, I have the resources, then you can do both. If the answer is no, then stick to the most profitable one. The reason why I say that is because, again, I go back to this point. The reason why it's called a business model is not just about capturing value. It's about how the value is created, how the value is delivered, and how it's captured. How you get a wholesale customer is different from how you get a retail customer. It's two different ball games. And you may have the knowledge of getting wholesale customers, but not have the knowledge of getting retail customers. You may have the resources to get retail customers, but not wholesale customers. Retail customers are easier to get. Wholesale customers take a longer time to become customers. So the question is, can you, all things considered, creating, delivering, and capturing value, can you successfully harmonize both models? If the answer is yes, we've got the resources to do it, then go for both models. But if the answer is no, we don't, then the question is which model is more profitable for us, and then go with the more profitable one. Good? Yes?
How many models at a time can business use?
A bit. That's a very great question, because a business,
For optimum output results.
well, optimum is subjective. It would always be subjective by industry, by stage, by the amount of resources that you've got. I'll give you a typical example. Anyways, the answer to the question before the explanation is that there is no answer to that question. So there is no magical number that is the optimum. Here's the reason why. Assume that I had built a platform that allows people in Birmingham to find local businesses and buy from them. Yep. And I took that model and I executed it. I'm just a guy trying to do business for my community. Yep. And I said, you know what, this model that I'm using isn't great enough. I'm going to add a bit of subscription to it. Subscription isn't great enough. I'm going to add advertising to it. Advertising isn't great enough. I'm going to try to find a way to, do a bit of commissions as well. So it becomes complex really quickly. It becomes difficult for me to manage because I'm constrained by resources. Let's flip this around. Assume that my business is Virgin. Does everybody know Virgin? Everyone knows Virgin? Richard Branson's company? You know Virgin? Virgin started as, does anybody know how Virgin started? They started as a music record company. Yes, that's how Virgin started. It was called Virgin Records. That was Branson's first business. But then he made a success of that model and then expanded into something else that is completely different, and then kept expanding. Today, Virgin operates in 200 different spaces, 200 different industries. And it's one company with multiple layers of subsidiaries. And they have multiple models across all of, they're in health, they're in gyms, they're in food, they're in drinks, they're in cruise ships, they're in space exploration. What other Virgin business do you know? They're in telecoms, they're in broadband, they're in trains, airlines, multiple models. So it's a question of capacity, really, not necessarily a question of what is feasible or what is not. Any other question? All right. I love this class because there's a lot of question, and what that tells me is there's a lot of understanding happening. So that's great. I'm going to try to see, again, we're going to go as fast as we can. But anyways, we get this. The next model I'm going to talk to you about is called the marketplace model. Marketplace model essentially is when you create a platform for demand and supply to meet. So people want products, people want to sell products. Some people want a service, some people want to sell that service. So there's always demand and supply across multiple industries. If you build a model that brings supply and demand to the same place so that they can connect, that's the problem you're solving. If that's what you've done, what you have is a marketplace model. How does a marketplace model work? You build the platform, and then how do you deliver? You give access to that platforms to both the demand side and the supply side. And when they come together, how do you capture value? Transaction related fees. So sometimes when suppliers and the customers do business, you take a cut of the transaction, or you charge them transaction fees. You could do it in many different ways, but that's how marketplace works. You have a question? Would that be an agency? No, an agency is a different business model entirely. We're going to talk about that. A very good example of a marketplace is Amazon. Caveat. Amazon is a massive business. They have multiple models going on. But fundamentally, they started as e-commerce. E-commerce is the fancy term for marketplace, but because essentially what e-commerce does is it gives sellers a platform to sell, and it gives buyers access to come in. And then that's how they make their money. But e-commerce only refers to technology. There are other non-tech businesses that are marketplaces. Do you understand? So that's why the real model is marketplace. E-commerce is a fancy term. Just like the real model is subscription. SaaS, software as a service, is just a fancy term. You had a question? Okay. We're good? So this is how marketplace works. Question. Uber and Bolt are not marketplaces. Great. Now, how many of you use Uber? Yep. How many of you know of a thing called Uber One? That is Uber trying to introduce subscriptions into their model. So Uber, the traditional Uber, Airbnb, naturally they are called sharing economy. However, the sharing economy thing is powered by technology, because what is really happening, if you think about Uber as a prime example, what is really happening is a combination of a rental model and a service model. You're renting an asset and you are getting a service simultaneously. That is really the nucleus of the Uber model, of the sharing economy model. It's the same thing with Airbnb. You're renting an asset and you're getting a service. What is the asset in the Uber case? Come on, speak to me. What's the asset? The car. What is the service? The driver driving you. That's what you pay for. It's a combination of both. In Airbnb, what is the asset? The house. What is the service? The before and after cleaning. I mean, you arrive at the house, it's totally clean. By the time you leave, it gets clean. That's the service. So Uber, Airbnb, and the rest of those, they are a combination of a rental model and a service model. But then, because technology makes that possible, we call them sharing economy. So they're really not marketplaces. It's fine. Bring in supply and demand together. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. So the one thing that is missing out, you're correct, but the one thing that is missing out is volume. When Uber brings supply and demands together, it is on a unitary basis. So I'm a customer, I need a service, I use the platform to find a supplier. I'm not shopping around to say there are 5 taxis. This one is charging £2. That one is charging £3. That one wants to charge me £10. So, okay, so I've looked at this. No, this one is going to charge me £10 because it's an AC car. This one's going to charge me £2 because it has no AC and is a manual car. That's not what you get to do on Uber, is it? You see the point? Marketplace brings a lot of supply and a lot of demand, and everybody can transact. So that's the difference. Yes. I'll come to you in a bit.
How would you maximize profit with the marketplace? Because, for example, Ticketmaster has like concerts and stuff, and when I buy a ticket, they'll only take like 50p. So as a start, that seems like
volume.
nothing.
It's a volume play. Remember, just what I said to her. What makes a marketplace is that there are a lot of people coming. Now, think about Ticketmaster. I've never used it, but I kind of have an idea of what it does. How many events do you think get listed on that platform every day? Every day, let's say it's hundreds. Let's just assume it's hundreds. Yep. How many people do you think one event attracts? Just give me an average. 1,000. So let's say 200 events multiplied by 1,000 people. What does that come to? 200,000 transactions. If I get, and remember this is every day, if I get 50p in 200,000 places every day, how much am I making every day? £100,000. To you, as a customer, it's nothing. But to them, when they have volume, it's massive. It's incredible. But anyways, I hope that answers your question. You had one?
So in India, there's an app which is a competitor of Uber. It's called InDrive. So the example that you gave, that
Mhm.
what's missing in Uber that makes it a marketplace
Mhm.
is there, because in NDrive when you select a location and
I get it, but it is still lots of suppliers, one demand, one customer in InDrive.
yeah.
When you go on InDrive, it's you, one person, trying to look for a solution among many options. It's not a volume play. I think my answer to her should give you a bit more context. In InDrive, it is one demand, multiple supply. In Uber, it is one demand, one supply. Uber is the arbitrator. In Ticketmaster, lots of demand, lots of supply. Everybody do what you want. So long as you do transactions, we take a cut. If you like doing the transactions, just browse through. But so long as you keep coming back, do transactions, we take a cut. That's the difference. We're good? Anybody think their business is going to be a marketplace model? Interesting. I'm loving it. Okay, so the next one is affiliate. Affiliate essentially is when you sell somebody else's product and so you have an audience, you sell somebody else's product to that audience. The audience could be online, it could be offline, it could be your friends, it could be your family, but essentially the product doesn't belong to you. The product belongs to somebody else. And then you take somebody else's product, you sell to your own audience, and you take a cut. So what is the create, deliver, capture? So the way you create value in marketplace is you build an audience first, and then you go look for an affiliate product. And then the way you deliver value is you promote somebody else's product to your audience, and the way you capture value is you get a percentage of the sales. That's how affiliates work. Anybody think the business is going to be affiliate? Yep, fantastic. Yeah, exactly. And you can even, so affiliate is a very good model to incorporate into other things. So when you begin to think about a different type of model, if you already have an audience, it's a nice follow on. The next model is manufacturing. You have a question?
So let's say that Primark.
Yep.
So I partner with Primark. That I'm going to take products from Primark.
Yep.
And I create a website.
Yep.
Apparently, I partner with MS, like 3 companies.
Yep.
Then I create a website.
Yep.
Then I upload pictures of clothes from Primark.
Yep. And you sell?
Then I sell.
That's affiliate. That's affiliate because the product doesn't belong to you. What belongs to you is the audience. What you control is the audience. So you found an audience somehow. People will go to your website or people that you know personally, and you're selling somebody else's product, and you take a cut.
Or they order on my website, buy from my website.
That's fine. Yeah, it's still affiliate because when they buy somebody else's product, the bulk of the money goes to somebody else. You just take a percentage of it. You said what? But the money doesn't belong to you. Is it your money? Are you the one who delivers the product? Yeah, exactly. So, but again, are you, when you go to Primark, are you buying the product from them, or are they giving it to you and saying, when you sell, pay us back?
So I'm not taking it from them. They're not giving me. I just take pictures from them.
Yeah.
I just put pictures in my platform.
Exactly. And then, so tell me how the deliver part works. So when I come to your site and I buy, and money goes to you, what happens to product? How does that work?
So I paid Primark.
You see my point? It's still Primark's product you're selling. You're just taking a cut of this transaction fee. Because somebody pays you, yeah, you literally then say, oh, Primark, here's some money, give me the product, and then you take that product and you give to the customer. So that's the work, that's the processing, that's the delivery process. How you make money from that is you're taking a cut of the transaction, a percentage of the sale.
So you're doing more advertising.
Well, the difference between affiliate model and advertising model is that in advertising model, your job is not delivering. You have nothing to do with the delivery of the product. But in affiliate, you are actually giving the product to the customer, or you are responsible for getting the product to the customer. In advertising, you're not responsible for getting the product to the customer. Yes, sir.
If you run a travel website,
Yep.
and you link on your travel website,
Yep.
other services that travelers need.
Yep.
Are you affiliate or are you advertising?
Affiliate, because people click on your on the product that they need or the service that they need. It takes them there. If they do a transaction, you get a cut. Yeah, so that's affiliate.
So the difference between affiliate and advertising is you get a cut, like based on if they buy the product or not. For advertisement, you pay them.
Not necessarily, because in advertising you could also get what we call pay per click. So when somebody takes an action based on the advertising, they still pay. That's how you make money. The core difference between affiliate and advertising is in advertising, you're not concerned about how the product gets delivered. The value you're providing is attention of your audience. That's the value you're providing. In affiliate, you still have to bear some responsibility of the customer getting the product. So because if it's an affiliate digital product, the customer still has to see the product as coming from you or coming from somebody else. But either way, the product has to get to them. In advertising, however, whatever happens with product is none of your business. You're literally just giving a brand exposure to your audience. Good? So next one, manufacturing. Manufacturing is where you make something and you sell it. So you buy some input and you sell it. How does this work? You buy input and you produce something of value from the input. How do you deliver it? You either have a pickup location or you have a delivery service. How do you make money? It's payment per order. Anybody thinks they have a manufacturing model? Exactly. I thought as much. And then there's another model called licensing, which is a very interesting one. So licensing is where you give somebody else the right to use something that belongs to you. Now, the core area where licensing thrives is that thing that belongs to you tends to be something that is regarded as intellectual property, something that you've come up with in your mind. It could be a design. It could be a patent that you have to certain types of stuff. So the create, deliver, and capture model for it is you buy or you create intellectual property, you protect it, so there is legal documentation that shows that this idea belongs to you. And then how do you deliver it? There's a contracted right of use. So you sign a contract with somebody saying you have the right to use my intellectual property to create a product or deliver a service or however. And then how do you make money? You collect what is called a royalty from the use of that product. So every time somebody buys from that person you give the right to, you get what is called a royalty. So a very good example of this is, say it again? NFTs. Well, maybe. I'm not very conversant with that world. But a very good example is if you have a design, if I came up with, using NFTs as an example. If you developed an NFT, you actually copyrighted it or did the whole intellectual property registration for it. And then I saw that design. I saw this is great. And that NFT is getting a lot of attention online. I could come to you and say, can I buy the right to use your NFT on a t-shirt print? Yep. And then you say, great, I'll give you the right. However, the way it's going to work is every time you sell your t-shirt, I get £2. If you sell one t-shirt, I get £2. That £2 is royalty. You have a question, sir? Say that again? TV rights. Yes, because if I understand really well how TV rights work, somebody has created a product, an embodiment of product that's gaining attention, a whole lot of attention. And then I say then that, okay, so a typical example of this product is the Champions League. Yep. And then let's say I'm from Venezuela, for example. I'm a broadcaster in Venezuela. And then my question is, Champions League is very popular in Europe and across the world. How do I get people in Venezuela to be able to comfortably watch the Champions League? I approach UEFA, who are the guys who own the intellectual property and the rights to that product. So it's not necessarily just intellectual property, but the rights to that entire product. I say to them, can I get the right to broadcast your product, to my audience just in my country? And UEFA says, great, we will give you that right, but this is what you pay for the right. And sometimes royalties are involved, yes? We're going to talk about franchise model. It's a different model entirely. In franchise, don't worry, we're going to come to it. But essentially, to answer your question, in franchise, you are literally not just giving somebody a product, you are giving them the entire blueprint to your business. We're going to come to it in a minute. But before franchise, service model is another model. Service is a very popular one. Essentially, you're using your skills to meet a need. You know how to do something, you help other people. It ranges from cleaning to graphic design, to painting, to consulting, anything of that nature is service model. It's literally using your skill to meet a need. What's the create model? Acquire skills. Then that's how you create value, by learning the skills. How do you deliver it? You perform the contracted task. And how do you capture value in return? You get paid the contracted fees. Then resource use. I'm going to run through this. Resource use essentially is when you create a finite resource, something that can be depleted, and then you get paid for its use. A perfect example of this is electricity. How do you create value? You build resource, so you generate electricity. It's finite, it's measured in kilowatts. Then how do you deliver? You either give platform access or there's a tracking model to track usage. And then how do you capture value? It's either tiered payment. A very good example of tiered payment is Google One or Google Drive storage, where Google says, if you use up to 2 terabytes, you pay us this much per month. If you use up to 10 terabytes, so that's what we call a tiered usage. Metered fees is electricity is a perfect one. You pay per consumption. So if you've got a resource that can be depleted, then what you do is you're using a resource model. Another quick model is R&D. Now, this is very popular in industries like medical industry or military contracting. So essentially what the R&D model focuses on is you are contracted to do research, develop a type of product from that research, and then once you've done the research and developed a product successfully and it works, you sell both the research, the product that you've developed, and the rights to the product to one client. A perfect example is military contracting. So government says we want a weapon system that can be a great defense for intercontinental ballistic missiles. So a military contractor goes to work, does the research, builds the product, and sells the rights to that and the research, everything to the government.
What happens if, as a company, you build the product, you sell it to, let's say, UK government,
Yep.
and then you sell the same product to the Chinese government?
Problem. So because with R&D, with R&D models like this, particularly using this example, it's always very strict contracts. So, and see, there are 3 elements: the research, the product, the entire model, the blueprint, and the right to use it. So even you who created the research, once you get paid, you don't have the right to use it. So it's not your property. It belongs to the government now.
But you know how with intellectual property,
Exactly. So that's the thing. Yeah. Again, government won't allow you get away with this kind of thing, because obviously you can tell already that using the military contracting situation, there are not a lot of clients. It's a massive project that would earn you billions, but you tend to have just a very few clients. Now, depending on the complexity of what the product is, the terms could change. So, for example, if you're developing a type of rocket that could go from Earth to Mars in 5 days, then that's high value. Everybody in the world wants it. So if the UK government gets their hands on that, they're literally going to own the right and they're going to protect it with their life. But if what they've asked you to develop is some nano camera that military people can just stick onto their headgear that gives visibility, that's a great product as well, and it has great utility. But the rights to protection around that might be a bit flexible, because Russia can have it, US can have it, China can have it. These are smaller matters. You get the idea. So anyways, that's how R&D works. Research and develop a product, transfer the entirety of the asset, and then you get paid your contracted fees. An enterprise model is is very similar to R&D, but the difference with enterprise model is you build a solution for a client and then you charge the client both the fees for the solution and the fee to manage it on an ongoing basis. So because you are the engineer who built it, you know the ins and outs, you can maintain it, you can manage it to make sure it keeps working. So where you see businesses that say we're doing like an enterprise model, if they really understand what they're talking about, what they mean is we built a solution that is used in large enterprise and we're charging them for maintenance. So you build and manage a solution, then you transfer the assets, and then you give them platform access, and then you get paid the contracted billed amount, as well as management fees. Franchise, to your question, is essentially where you build a business and you enable someone else to replicate what you have built. Remember when Carolyn was talking to you about some of the events coming up and there's going to be Doug Wright coming? Doug Wright is the man who has a franchise for McDonald's. I don't know if it's across the UK, but at least I know it's for Birmingham and the West Midlands. So he has the rights to build a franchise. So you go to McDonald's in, Birmingham City Center. You go to McDonald's in, I don't know if there's one in Edgbaston, but if you go to two different McDonald's, how they operate is going to be the same. The logo on the door is the same. The uniform that the staff is wearing is relatively the same. So with franchise, you build an entire business, and then, so you build an entire business that is successful. How do you deliver? You provide resources, that is everything that the business needs, where we get the food from, the kind of tools we use. You provide all the resources as well as the training to make it work to a franchisee, and then in exchange, you get a franchise fee and a percentage of sales. And then agency fee, somebody asked about agency earlier. Agency literally is a model where you manage a project and project resources for that client. And then how do you get money from it? You get agency fees and commission. Now, what is your business model? I presume you all know what your business model is. Great. We've literally overshot our time, but can we have 10 more minutes? Okay, great. So there is a tool called the Business Model Canvas. Please take one and pass it around. I'd like each of you to have one each. Take one and pass it. Take one and pass it. Take one and pass it. We have more here if you need. Please take one and pass it. Now, once you understand what your business model is, guys, the next thing would be to plot that business model in what we call a business model canvas. Because the business model canvas is an interesting tool that allows you to map out your business in one page. Now, please stop looking at the papers that I gave to you and look here. The reason is because we've got 10 minutes and I need to use that time to explain how to put together a business model canvas and how it works so that you can then go home and do the work. Does this make sense? Great. So how does a business model canvas work? You already have a sample on your table, but I'm going to explain it. So you start by literally putting in some details at the top. So design for the name of your company. Designed by you. Date, today's date. Version 1, because this is the first business model canvas that you're building. Now, why do we have versions? The whole idea of business model canvas is to be a simple tool to visualize your business so that you can experiment and be sure that things that you assume are actually things that work. So where do you start from? As you can see on your table, there are 9 building blocks of a business model canvas. But pay attention, because this is where you start. The first thing you have to do with your business model canvas is ask yourself, what is your value proposition? You've already had an entire session on value proposition, so I presume I don't have to explain what this means. Are we together? Yeah. So essentially, guys, the way to feel the business model canvas is literally to write the answer in single sentences at worst or phrases at best. So a sentence is, we provide food solutions to people who do not like cooking. That's a full sentence. A phrase is a food delivery app for non-cookers, if that's a thing. Do you get the idea? But no more than a sentence. That's the answer to your question. So under value proposition, it should either be a phrase or a sentence, no more than a sentence. Not a compound sentence, a simple sentence. Now, once you've written out your value proposition, the next thing you do is who are your customers? Customer segments. You did customers last week, so I am not going to touch on this as well. But essentially, you're saying, who are we selling to? What are we selling? Or what is our value proposition? And who are we selling that value proposition to? The third thing you answer, so this is the order. So you start with value proposition, you move to customers. Number 3 then is, what is the channel of value delivery? Remember, create, deliver, and capture. This is where you answer the deliver question. And I always say to people, under the channel, there are two answers you should provide. Number one, what is the channel of value delivery? Number two, what is the channel of communicating to customers? Because, for example, your channel of value delivery could be a pickup location, and your channel of communication could be Instagram. You get the idea? But it's always good for you as a business to know both the channel through which you are delivering value to customers as well as the channel through which you are communicating to customers. Once you've done that, the next one then is, what is the nature of the relationship you will have with your customers? This also is determined by your business. So everything that you do under this canvas is determined by your chosen business model, which is the reason why I took my time to excruciatingly explain all of those different business models. So, for example, if you are an advertising business, you don't need to have a personal relationship with your customer. You get the idea? But if you are a coffee shop, you need to have a close relationship with your customer, because that's how you retain them. So here you just describe the type of relationship that you need to have with your customer, essentially. The reason why this is important is because even the type of relationship you have with your customer has a cost. There are some businesses, in order to just make your customers feel special, you need to send them a text message on their birthdays and on their anniversaries. There are some businesses, nobody cares. Right? So that's why you need that. So number one is what? Speak to me. Number two. Number three. Number four. Then number five would be the revenue streams. How will you make money? That's capture value. So how are you going to make money? We're going to charge them a monthly subscription fee. We're going to charge a commission. We're going to charge whatever. So that's the answer there. All of this is the demand side, is the supply side. Oh, sorry, this is the demand side. This is everything that has to do with how you generate demand. So this is what we sell. This is who we sell to. This is how we deliver. This is the relationship. And this is how we make money. Yes.
So if, for example, my model is a retail business, but it's not making money. Not retail, for example. I don't know which model it will come to, but if it's like selling something, but it's not making money through it, so I need to incorporate a subscription model into it just to make money, and now I have two models. So what do I do?
Well, so in that case, if that is what you have to do and you have the capacity to execute both models, then in your revenue streams, you literally will list out the two ways by which you make money.
Okay.
Yeah. So that revenue streams is how do you make money. Now, once you've done this five, the sixth one then is, what are the key resources that you need in order to make your business work? Remember when we went to the definition of a business at the start? Inputs. Those are the key resources. Then after key resources, the next thing is, what are the key activities that we need in order to produce what we're producing and deliver? So how do we create and deliver? What are the key activities? If it's a manufacturing model, the key activity is purchase the inputs, run the manufacturing process, whatever that process is. If it's a consultancy, like a service business, key activity is find the clients, do the research, deliver the work. You get the idea. But the key resources are, what are the inputs? The key activities is referred to how do we convert the input into value. And then the third one is key partnerships. Who are the people that we need to align with in order to be able to successfully create our value? Some businesses have a lot, some businesses have a few. But key partnerships essentially is, who do we need to align with? So for example, if I know that for my roofing business, I need to find building contractors. They are not my clients. The people that own the homes are my clients, but I need to find building contractors to give me referrals. Then I put building contractors as my key partners, because they will help me to get to my customer. So anybody that would help you either in the process of creating your product, delivering the product, or capturing value, that is your key partner. So for example, if you are a retail business and your deliver model is a delivery service, but you don't want to own a multiple of delivery vehicles, you can partner with a delivery and logistics company. That's a key partner. Does this make sense? Quick question.
Yeah, how do companies that offer free access to like their website, for example, Snapchat, I just make an account and I just post whatever. How do they make money?
That's advertising. If it, Snapchat, is that?
I know now they do advertising, but before that, say when they first started.
So when they first started, they weren't making money.
It was just like,
Yeah, they were cultivating attention. They were building their assets. The assets that Snapchat and Facebook sells is attention. So when they started, they weren't making money, but they were building that attention. And now that they have the attention of everybody, they're selling advertising. Now, once you do key partnerships, then the last thing on your business model canvas would then be, what are the cost structures? What are the monies that we need to spend in order to create, deliver, and capture value? So this model, this canvas, literally would answer all the questions that your business model creates. You first identify your business model, and then you answer these questions, and then it gives you a very clear idea as to what business model you're operating and how you execute it. Does this make sense? Great value today? You've learned something? Okay, great. So once you have your business model canvas done, quick note. The next thing you then do, because everything you have on your that you would have on your paper is called an hypothesis. Hypothesis means this is a statement that we think is true. What you then have to do is to go and test it so that you can validate that it is true. So for example, if you say our customers are students, then you have to go and test it by asking students, will you buy this? And then if they say yes, then you know that yes, students are customers, and it means that you validated it. So as you make your hypothesis on your canvas, you make them, you test them, and you validate them. So once you have your canvas full, the next step is go and test. Once you test, you will either find that some of those things are correct, or you'll find that some of those things are wrong. When you find that they are wrong, what it then means is you go find the correct one and you put it there. And that is why your business model canvas has versions. So version 2 will be one with more correct hypothesis than version 1. Now, once you've done all of this, before you launch your business, there are a few quick notes. Number 1, ask yourself this question: can I commit the time that this business needs to work? Number 2, ask yourself, can I find the resources, or do I have the resources that is necessary to make this business work? Number 3, this is before you jump in. Do I have the patience for this business? How long am I willing to commit to this business to try and push really hard? Because you need to know when to stop if it's not working. Sometimes it's not working. What you need to do is to pivot and to change and to try a new way. But sometimes when you've done all that you need to do and it's still not working, you need to know when to stop. So you've got to give yourself a benchmark. And then the next question is, how bad will it get if this doesn't work? The reason why this question is important before you start is so that you can protect yourself. So that as you are experimenting, you're not creating more problems. Imagine somebody that wants to start a business. You have not validated your proposition. You've not even figured out how your business model is going to work. You went to take a loan of £50,000, and that loan requires you to start paying back from the very next month £500 every month. There is no time. So before you ever even build the business, before you sold to customers, before you start making money, you're already paying back loans. Your problem is very expensive now. If the business doesn't work, you owe somebody 50,000. But a better way of doing it is doing all of this groundwork, doing all the research, validating as much as you can, then try getting started with your own money, not going all out, learning through the process. And then if you feel that this is working really well, then you're seeing that the business is working. Then if you need money to grow it, then you can get somebody to invest, or you can get a loan and you can grow. Essentially, a business that works is like a spark or a flame, a tiny little flame. Capital is like gasoline, petrol. If you pour petrol on a flame, what happens? Boom, you get an explosion. But if you pour petrol on just the dry ground, what happens? It dries off. Before you go get fuel, get a flame. Before you go get external capital, have a functional model. In summary, be a thoughtful and a thorough entrepreneur. The reason why I've gone through all of this is so that you can methodically think through this journey you're about to go on and think through it in fine detail. That's why I chose the word thoughtful and thorough. Because if you do this, chances are you're going to have a business that succeeds. Business is tough. It's very challenging. If you want to make it work, then you've got to do as much work as you can at the start to de-risk the process so that you don't have crazy exposure. I hope that has been very helpful. Thank you very, very much. Please make sure that you take time out to complete your canvases. It's for you. It's your planning tool. And then once you have it completed, you can go from there. If you scan that QR code, it will take you to my LinkedIn page. When you get to my LinkedIn page, hit the follow button, and then you're going to see a tiny little bell icon. If you click on that as well, it will notify you every time I drop new content. So as you can see, I'm recording my session. What I tend to do is I cut the session into bits, and then I post them on LinkedIn. So you can learn a lot of stuff. So please scan, follow, and click that notification button. And thank you very much, Caroline, for having me.
Thanks, David.
We have access to the video too.
Yeah, you have access to me via LinkedIn. I live on LinkedIn. So if you have a question, just drop me a message on LinkedIn. Awesome.